All right, and we're just gonna jump right into it. Welcome to AJM in the AM. I'm Anthony Merrow. We finished the Eastern Conference. We kind of went through our expectations of each of those teams. It's gonna look something like what you typically would expect: Celtics, Bucks, Cavs, Knicks, Heat, and then just throw in your favorite team of the ones I didn't name to fight for that final seed, because all of it is gonna be competitive. You can have the Sixers in there, depending on what they do, et cetera, et cetera. But now we're moving out west, and we have the Southwest Division, which is actually pretty stacked with talent. There's not a lot negative that I can see that happened here, despite some of the turmoil that you could predict here. We're going to start off with the team that probably had the most question marks going into the offseason, the Dallas Mavericks. They entered the season last year with a lot of promise. They came off of a brilliant playoff run. They kind of found themselves having a bad season, though. They didn't have what they needed. Losing someone like Jalen Brunson hurt like hell, and they just didn't have an opportunity to build around without him. And Luka missed some time, which also hurt their season. So what did they do? They did an all-in move to get Kyrie Irving at the end of or the middle of last season. It didn't really work, but you could see flashes of it potentially being successful. The problem was that they inextricably tied the future of their franchise, their future with superstar top 5, top 10 player Luka Doncic, to retaining Kyrie Irving, who is one of the most wild cards in the history of wild cards. You don't know what the hell is going to happen next. But when he was playing, he was magical. He was incredible. So they brought him back on what is a pretty reasonable deal. They gave him a max for 3 years. Right? The hard part about Kyrie is, can you give him long-term money? And Dallas found a way to give him 2 guaranteed, so we have him at least with Luka, and then 1 player option, depending on how that turns out. So last season, Dallas misses the playoffs. They finished the 11th seed in the West, and they keep their top 10 protected pick that they traded to New York by throwing the last game of the season. They finished 38-44. They had one of the busiest off seasons of any team in the league. They lose Davis Bertans. They trade him. Got rid of that contract. Reggie Bullock is out the door. Justin Holiday out the door. JaVale McGee, former three-time, multi-time champion JaVale McGee, and Christian Wood is gone. Theo Pinson, Chris Paul's favorite player, is gone. Frank Ntilikina is gone. Now, what did they do to help out their team? What was one of the big weaknesses that you could say Dallas had last year? They didn't have a lot, but what was one of them? Perimeter defense. Finding a rotation, a stable of players that can go out there and give you good defensive possessions time in, time out, and hold it up on that end of the floor where Luka can't kind of hold his own. So what did they do? Greg Brown III, decent big man. Rashawn Holmes, really good big man. Seth Curry's back over here again, one of the best shooters in the league. Derek Jones Jr., Derek Lively II as a backup center, a rookie here, and Grant Williams got a really nice contract from Dallas. This was a busy offseason, but they did a hell of a job. Those are the big names that came in, and I got to say, pretty impressed. Pretty impressed. Solid offseason. Like I said, they were retained to keeping Kyrie, and they found a way to do it without the big cap implication. 3 years, $120 million is not that much. I do think losing Christian Woods hurts, but they're going to do a death by committee approach at the center. They seem to be really high on Derek Lively II. I'm not really too sure about him. I don't know. I don't watch college. Some people do. But I do know Rashawn Holmes is a damn good center. A really good rim runner, an athlete, and that's what Dallas did. They went out into the market, and they brought back athletes. Big, strong forwards in Grant Williams, a nice rim-running big man with athleticism and good hands in Rashawn Holmes, a lanky, athletic wing in Derek Jones Jr., and then a lights-out, just dynamite shooter in Seth Curry. Now, you put that alongside Dwight Powell, Kyrie Irving, and Luka Doncic, and you got yourself a pretty damn good core. So they may run a little bit less center-filled lineups because Dwight Powell is technically a 4, but the league is leaning towards undersized squads anyway. The problem they may have is when they walk into one of those inevitable big man matchups, those teams that have like Anthony Davis in LA. You're looking at Jokic in Denver. You're looking at Zion Williamson in New Orleans. At this point, he's starting to get there. We'll see what he does in the first 25 games of the season. But Jaren Jackson Jr. out in Memphis. But against everybody else, they're going to be pretty damn good. A lot of good wing depth. Curry at the 2, Grant at the 4 on price-friendly deals. They didn't kill their cap with a lot of these signings. This is a huge win for Dallas. Building a defensive just entourage of players to be alongside Luka and Kyrie without tapping into their limited draft capital gives them opportunity to keep mobility in terms of like financial implications with the second apron, as well as trade flexibility during like the middle of the season. You never know what can happen, who's going to become a seller. They are able to maintain that, and they have those nice little friendly contracts. But like I said, they're going to have to find something, maybe a 5, or another center, a big man that can handle some of the more talented centers. I named Jokic already. I named Anthony Davis. But what about like a Domantas Sabonis? Do they have a player that can deal with him? We saw Draymond Green give him fits in the postseason. Maybe Grant Williams can muster a little bit of that up. Alperen Sengun, just saying, keep your eye on him. Guy's nasty. But this team should be able to compete with anybody. They picked the perfect players to play alongside Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. They got themselves 3-point shooting and good perimeter defense. This should be a team that is going to be pushing back to get into that airspace of 50 wins. 48? Maybe. If they stay healthy, Kyrie Irving doesn't lose his mind midseason, and Luka Doncic is able to at least exert some effort on the defensive side of the ball, this is going to be a damn good team. And 40 to 52 wins is like my floor to ceiling with them. The next up team, the Houston Rockets. Now, they were the second worst team in the league last year, tied for second worst, but second worst sounds better. Who did they lose? DJ Augustine is gone. You lost a nice little veteran there. KJ Martin, they got rid of for whatever reason. He's gone. And now Kevin Porter Jr. is out of the NBA, potentially facing jail sentencing. We can touch on that another time unless you say in the comments you want me to talk about it. But his situation is a disaster to the point that the Rockets had to tie draft capital to get rid of him when they could have just waived him. Now, what did they gain, right? The Houston Rockets had one of the youngest teams in the league, if not the youngest, and they went out there and they brought in some veterans, and we will talk about why this is important. They bring in Dylan Brooks on a 4-year, $80 million deal. They brought in Reggie Bullock. They bring in Jeff Green, NBA champion. They brought in Aaron Holiday, Jacques Landale, who was phenomenal with the Phoenix Suns. They draft Amen Thompson. They bring in NBA champion Fred VanVleet. And they get the steal, what I think is going to be the steal of the draft at the number 20 overall pick in Cam Whitmore. This was a dynamite offseason, if there could ever be one. This team did everything they could to build a winner. And they did it without moving much of their young core. Losing Kenyon Martin Jr., I think, hurts a little bit. I like him a lot. Kevin Porter had a bright future ahead of him, but he shot himself in the foot. That has nothing to do with the franchise. So the players that they brought in are culture players. Say what you will about Dylan Brooks. Hate him or love him. He's a good basketball player. He's a gritty basketball player. He instills confidence in the team. And he's done it through Memphis for years. When they were still bad and they brought in Andre Iguodala, and Iguodala was like, I don't want to play for you guys. Dylan Brooks is the guy that was like, oh, okay, fine. We'll see you. We're going to show you. And he showed them. Hey, we're going to be the team in the playoffs every single year. We're going to be that team that's on the cusp of breaking through every single year. And now he's on the Houston Rockets, a team that looks like they might be building in that same direction. Jacques Landale, he's not incredibly talented, but he plays his heart out every single night as a center. And Fred VanVleet, I know he's not the most efficient player in the world. Like, shoots like 40-something% from the field, if that. Not the best shooter in terms of three-point shooting with how many he takes, like 37%. But he's a great ball handler, a really good facilitator, and he's been a part of a championship team and a team that has been scrappy in the Eastern Conference and stayed out of the headlines. This is a culture move. Last season, in the middle of the year, I think it was John Wall was saying, yo, these young players, they're good, but they're just having fun out there. They don't really know how to play basketball. There was a reported dispute with Jalen Green and an unnamed veteran, probably at John Wall, where Green was calling him out. Like, yo, you're the veteran here. You're supposed to be teaching us how to do this. And John Wall, like I said, just said, hey, you guys don't know how to play the game yet. So what did they do? They doubled down on the youth movement while bringing in some great veterans to kind of steer the ship in the right direction. This was a great offseason. Another year of Jabari Smith, who's probably going to be the best player on this team. If you watch Summer League, Jabari Smith came out here and was working on his pull-up jump shot game all summer, and he was cooking. He was unstoppable. Hand in his face, double team, triple team, off the dribble pull-up, looking like Kevin Durant, just killing the mid-range game. I don't know much about the Thompson twins. I said it in the last one with the Detroit Pistons, but people believe that these are some of the best athletes that could have came in this draft, some of the best defensive players, some of the best NBA instincts that they have seen in a draft in a long time. So if that's even remotely close to what these players can be, woo! Just saying, man, you got to keep your eyes on this team. Cam Whitmore was a top 5 prospect, top 5. Couple of injuries, drops down to 20. So now they bring in Amon Thompson in the top 5 and a top 5 other pick in Cam Whitmore, who was just dominating preseason. Like, this is crazy. And now those young players, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore, Amon Thompson, Alperen Sengun, who's an incredibly promising center, a guy built in the mold of a Nikola Jokic and a Domantas Sabonis, a big man with guard-like skills, is going to be out there with Fred VanVleet, NBA champion, Jeff Green, NBA champion, Dylan Brooks, however obnoxious, an elite competitor that was just part of a contending, not playoff contend, like a contending, championship contending Memphis Grizzlies team. They brought in huge culture. I know Fred VanVleet is overpaid, but this team had nothing but money. They had unlimited funds. They went into this free agency with like $80 million to spend. And if you don't spend it, you have to divvy that out to the remainder, to your roster, whoever's on your team. So they spent it. And the best part about these salaries, I don't know if I can pull it up, is that they don't overlap with them having to re-sign their bright young core. Fred VanVleet's on a 2-year deal. The 3rd year is a team option. He can be gone. They don't have to, hey, $40 million, cool, but now, we got to pay Jalen Green. All right. Bye. That's it. You got your $80 million from us. We overpaid the hell out of you. But now I have to pay this guy whatever max contract he's going to get. In 3 years, maybe they keep Fred VanVleet. Now you got to re-sign Jabari Smith. Now we have the financial capability to do it. We're losing one max contract for another. Like, they did a phenomenal job. I think Sengun is going to be fantastic. Jalen Green's one of the most athletic players in the NBA. I think he's going to have a brilliant young career. Like I said, back to Jabari Smith, man. He showed incredible growth over the summer. Dominated his 2 summer league games, and the team was like, all right, we can't play you, man. This is getting crazy. Like, just some premier off-the-bounce shot creation. Sengun, incredible. Do-it-all center. Just 21 years old. The sky is the limit. His potential is limitless. And then Cam Whitmore, like, yo, this team is primed to take a massive leap. I know they only won 22 games last year. It's easy to kind of throw that out there. But they have all of this young talent, and typically when you have players under 23, under 24 years old, what do? They get better. They get better every single year. And so far, the Rockets have shown that, and now they're playing with players in Dylan Brooks, in Fred VanVleet, in Jeff Green, in Jock Landale, who can show these players in 3 different positions how to play the game at the highest level, how to play basketball. Now they can take all of that talent and mold it properly with a brand new coach in Ime Udoka, who as a rookie took the Boston Celtics, a very young team, to the NBA Finals. So they brought in championship caliber players and coaching and put it with this bright young nucleus of talent. It's going to be incredible. If not this year, the year after. But this team is primed for a huge, huge step forward. And they still have insane draft capital. They walk into this season with 7 first-round picks, 2 pick swaps, and 11 second-rounders. That's insane. That's 18 literal picks and 2 swaps over the next 6 years. So, kudos, man. The future in Houston is real. Like, this legitimately could be a very scrappy team, and they have what I like to call injury insurance. They're so deep in talent that they could afford to lose a player for an extended period of time. Dylan Brooks goes down for 30 games. That's fine. That's fine. We got our draft pick this year. Fred VanVleet goes down. Jalen Green, do your thing, man. And you have more ball handling responsibilities. Maybe they can't afford to lose Sengun for a really long time. They don't really have the center depth. But Jacques Landale just showed, hey, I'm a starting caliber center. A high tier one? No, but starting caliber. There's 30 teams. Like, this team, honestly, I would not be surprised if they found a way to sneak 41 wins. Would not be surprised. I'm aiming more towards 38, like Dallas Mavericks season that just happened. I'm looking more at that. But if they make the 9th seed, the 10th seed off the backs of other teams getting injured, they make the play-in tournament, I would not be surprised. This is a bright young team, and they have just insane amounts of depth. And they just picked up, I know Depot's probably not going to play this year, but just another player to be alongside him. Just teach these guys how to play. Victor Oladipo in his prime was one of the best defenders on the perimeter. Now he's going to be teaching Amen Thompson, who came into the league as considered one of the better defensive players in the draft. So it's just an incredible job. Really, really cool. Really fun team to see. And I'm going to be watching a ton of their games on League Pass this year. Next up, the Memphis Grizzlies, another team that was incredibly busy. Now, they lose Tyus Jones in a trade, but they trade him for basically Marcus Smart. They lose Dylan Brooks, which, in the most messed up news that could have happened for, Dylan Brooks, they basically told him under no circumstance are we going to bring you back. And then 2 days later, not really 2 days, but very soon after, Ja Morant suspended for 25 games. The memes write themselves. Is that under the umbrella of under no circumstance? Even if that was not under the umbrella, under no circumstance, he probably wasn't going to come back anyway. Like, that's the most disrespectful thing they could have done. Still, they lose their Ja Morant insurance in Tyus Jones, which is unfortunate, but they replace him with Marcus Smart, a guy who just came off of, NBA finals runs, conference championships, conference championship games, game 7, a guy who plays a lot of the season, is a heart and soul for the Boston Celtics locker room. Now he goes to Memphis to bring that same grit. If there's a player in the NBA that fits the identity for the grit and grind Grizzlies of the last 15 years, probably Marcus Smart. He's in there, man. And it's going to be really cool to see him. They've shown that they can play well as a team because of how they're coached in Tyler Jenkins, how top heavy they have talent, and not top heavy, how much top end talent they have on their roster in Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr., that they can win, even when Ja Morant is gone. So now 25 games through, it's going to be tough, right? But you replace him with Marcus Smart, a known winner, a valuable player in the NBA. A borderline all-star, defensive player of the year, playing alongside the defensive player of the year in Jaren Jackson. It's going to be really fun. And Desmond Bane last year showed another step of improvement. He went from being a spot-up jump shooter with the shortest arms in the NBA to being a off-the-dribble creator with the shortest arms in the NBA. Just an incredible leap from Desmond Bane last season. A guy who was given most improved player by his own teammate, Ja Morant, who won the award. And then he basically came close to winning the award himself this season, including what was a brilliant playoff run against the Lakers. I know they lost, but if there was a single bright spot on that entire loss, it was Desmond Bane going bananas. The Lakers had no answer for him. His jump shot is really pretty, and he turned what was initially just spot-up creation to off-the-dribble creation. He was taking people off the bounce, and he's super strong, so he can truck past people. A lot of talent in Desmond Bane. Jaren Jackson Jr., we were just talking about him being an offensive threat for a team like Dallas, because he can be. He's very underutilized in the offensive side of the game. He's one of the best defensive players. He can erase a lot of perimeter mistakes. He can lock up down low, except for against Anthony Davis, apparently. But he can typically lock up down low. And now you're going to have an opportunity to see him use more of that post game. Some of those little jump hooks, some of those little fadeaways, turn shots, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for him, especially through the first 25 games without Ja Morant. Plus, really good player to fill the shoes from Brooks, too. Marcus Smart, just a guy that keeps the team energized. 2 defensive player of the years on one squad. A big issue last season for Memphis was their maturity. right? I think that goes without saying. How many times did they have to go through an issue for things to get better for him? It never really got better for him. They just kept, talking shit, and then they lost. And it didn't look good. But now they're bringing in two proven vets in Derrick Rose and Marcus Smart to kind of shore things up. I know Rose said recently, hey, we're not here to babysit Ja, which they shouldn't be there for. But if there was ever a professional athlete in the NBA that can tutor, not babysit, tutor Ja Morant, it's Derrick Rose, who was the first archetype for the incredible, uber athletic, like out of this world athleticism, dunk off the bounce, taking people off the dribble, lightning quick speed point guard. You would probably say Russell Westbrook. I would say Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose was that guy. Before his knee injuries took everything away from him, he was a freak athlete. And Ja Morant is very similar to his actual game. And maybe Ja can learn something from Rose. Rose is going to be open to teach, but is Ja going to be open to receive that information? Even without Ja for the first 25 games of the season, they should still make the playoffs. They should still be pushing for the top 6 positioning. And, they get a superstar reinforcement a third of the way through the season. When everybody else is starting to get more tired, when everybody else is like, oh man, we're 50 games in, Ja Morant's going to be 25 games in. He's going to have fresh legs. And he's actually allowed to practice with the team, which is something that, should be carried with some weight. 50 wins is possible for this roster. I think 46 seems more likely, just because I think losing Tyus Jones is huge and not having Morant for 25 games. I know they can win without him, but you're replacing someone who plays with intelligent playmaking that can improve the players around him for a better singular talent in Marcus Smart, but he doesn't make the best decisions. So part of what makes bad teams play better is when you play cleanly, right? Same thing like the NFL. If you're a bad team but you make no mistakes, you have a real good opportunity to win a game, even if you lack the talent. We had no flags, no penalty yards. You have a good chance. Tyus Jones was that guy. Is he more capped, like less talented than Marcus Smart? I would say so. But he's built in the mold of an Andre Miller, a guy who just doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And everybody around me is going to get fed. And they're going to get fed in the right spot at the right time. And those guys are talented enough to carry me. And I'm going to put them in the position to do so. Marcus Smart isn't the same kind of player. And he does take a lot of bad decision shots, like, off the dribble 3 with 14 seconds on the shot clock contested. Not a good idea. But they already had that with Dillon Brooks. So we'll see. I do think 46 wins seems like a real possibility. Potentially the 6th or the 7th seed. But that's going to be a damn good 7th seed, especially when they get Ja Morant back. Next team. 4th team on the list. We have the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, this team went 42-40 last year, and they lost in the play-in. They were pretty busy in a negative way. You lose backup center Jackson Hayes. Willie Hernan Gomez is gone. Josh Richardson is gone. And you lose backup point guard Garrett Temple. And who did they bring in? Undrafted. First round, 14th pick, Jordan Hawkins, Malcolm Hill, and Cody Zeller. So pretty much no one of note. I'm not, too keen on college players, especially when your team is pushing more towards making the postseason and making noise in the postseason, which the Pelicans can do. But they cannot survive a season without Zion Williamson. Their elephant in the room is, can Zion stay healthy? At the beginning of last year, maybe about a third of the way through the season, like sometime mid-December, late December, the Pelicans were the number 1 or the number 2 seed. They were one of the best teams in the West. And they finished the season in, I think it was like 9th place. Now, what happened in between? Zion got hurt. That's simple. Zion Williamson is one of the most singularly dominant players in the NBA since Shaquille O'Neal. That is not an overstatement. That is an accurate statistical statement that you just can't deny. Zion Williamson is literally unstoppable within 3 feet. He shot 72% from the field under the rim. And that's with bodies on him. He's not getting wide open looks. He's not getting the easy alley-oop opportunities like Mitchell Robinson. He's powering through opposing 250 plus pounders and then destroying them around the basket with finesse touch or just monster slams. Zion is a freak of nature, but when he's hurt, their ceiling significantly drops. It goes from being a 55 to 60 win team to being a 40 to 41 win team because they still have a lot of talent. People like CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, who also had some injuries, Jonas Valanciunas, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Jose Alvarado, Larry Nance Jr. That's a lot of talent. But none of it works if you're missing one of the best players in the NBA. You need Zion Williamson. Their success is thoroughly tied to Zion staying on the court. Ingram, too. He suffers from nagging injuries as well, but he hasn't had the same injury history Zion has. I think Zion's played like 89 games. It's been 4 years. That's a season. That's one season and one 7-game playoff series. It's just something that they're going to have to go through. Now, the Pelicans still are in the enviable position of having a lot of bright young talent and 12 first-round draft picks through 2030. So they have mobility, trade capabilities for a star swap, a star addition, or a full-blown rebuild. You could take those 12 picks, you can add to them. Now we got 12 first-round picks, 4 or 5 players under 21, and I know we have these massive contracts. We'll send them out. Get these extra picks. They have a lot of ability to make moves. But going into the season, that's not the case. They're going to be going for what they should be going for, a playoff push. Let's make some noise. They came this close to beating the Phoenix Suns a couple years ago, not that long ago. And now Zion looks healthy. He seems to be taking his weight more seriously. You can't lumber around pushing 300 pounds with that frame, with that athleticism. It's physically not possible. It's like how a bumblebee flies. It should not be happening. And a healthy Zion is a scary prospect. A stronger, more in shape Zion Williamson should have the league quaking in their boots. If he can play through the marathon of the season and then play with the same level of energy and effort in the postseason, this could be a second-round team. This could be a third-round conference finalist. This is a damn good team. They have a lot of talent, but it only works if Zion plays. While this team should be better than they were last year, I do believe injuries are still going to be a factor here. It's impossible to remove them from this team specifically because they've always been a factor for this team. The Pels should be better, but they're still going to be fighting for a play-in spot. You look at the top teams in the West, like you can go through like basically all of California, but we're going to even remove the Clippers because they have the same injury concerns. We'll talk about them later. But you got the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Grizzlies, who knows how to play without their star. Then you go into like Dallas, who looks like they're going to be really good this year. The Timberwolves, who should be better this year. Now you go into like the Pelican range, but that's still 6. And you have, did I even mention Denver? Like, there's a lot of really good teams, and they're going to have to find a way to stay healthy. But part of staying healthy for them is going to be the risk management. Hey, you're not going to play you Zion on a back-to-back. So you're going to be waving the white flag for a lot of games. I do believe 40 to 45 wins seems about right for this team. I'll probably aim towards 45, especially with how consistently injured that core is. But still a damn good team. I'm going to be saying that a lot for the Western Conference. And then the final team of the Southwest Division, the San Antonio Spurs. Over the last few years, the Spurs have done things that would be win-averse. They haven't been doing trades, that would make their team better. Getting rid of DeJounte Murray, who at that point was a 25.9 rebound, 9 assist player. Getting rid of Derek White. They fire-sold on Derek White. Traded him for basically nothing. Why? Why would you do this? Well, because Victor Wembanyama's around the corner. We want the chance to draft one of the greatest prospects of all time. And having those two players just made us too capable of winning games. So I know a lot of these last couple of seasons without Tim Duncan, without Kawhi Leonard, without LaMarcus Aldridge has really impacted what we view Greg Popovich as when it comes to the greatest coach ever. I still think he's the greatest coach ever. Can't win if you don't have the talent to do so. And they kept trading all the talent that they propped up. So they finished tied for second worst in the NBA, 22-60. But they improved a lot of that bright young talent they had down there. Jeremy Sohan was incredible coming into his rookie season. You're looking at Zach Collins, who's had a huge resurgence for his career. This is what I thought he was going to be when he was in Portland. I'm a Portland fan, so when I saw his rookie season in the postseason, he was cooking. Really good athletic center, able to make threes, nice little mid-range jump shots, was dancing on the bench when he was hyped. Like, he was a good basketball player. And then a couple of injuries later, didn't seem as good. Portland Fire sold on him, get him out of here, and San Antonio revived his career. Jakob Poeltl. It's a good center right there. Keldon Johnson, a lot more responsibilities this season. His three-point shooting took a huge hit because now he's doing more off the dribble, which is a much tougher shot than any spot-up opportunities you're going to get, but still a very bright, young, talented player. And Devin Vassell, who just got a massive contract, well-deserved contract for him. This is a good-ass team. This is just they're deep. There's no crazy contracts, and they just added Victor Wembanyama, who, if you've seen anything in the preseason, he's going to be an animal. The dunk over Thomas Bryant from outside the restricted area, where he just space jammed his arm across, is just a pinnacle of what he can do. It's just a tip of the iceberg for the talent that man possesses. So the Spurs probably won't be that good this season. They're probably not going to be fighting for the play-in, but they're going to be improved from what they did last year. You throw in just Victor Wembanyama in general on top of everything they had last year, and there's nothing but improvement. There's no way to go for them but up. I do think they're going to miss Jakob Poeltl as a backup center, but they have City Cisco, who's going to play some minutes at the 4. You pick up Jetty Osman, who I really enjoyed his time in Cleveland, really solid player, and Jeremy Sohan, who, second half of last season was giving you like 18 points a game. This is a solid roster. Charles Bassey's going to be playing a lot of time at the 5, and then Victor Wembanyama, who's listed as a power forward at 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan. 8 feet. That's crazy. As long as he can avoid any, I don't want to curse it, but you have to say it with players of that caliber, any lower extremity injuries, Victor Wembanyama is going to have a magical rookie season. I don't think he's going to be in line for Rookie of the Year because I don't think he's going to play the 65-game requirement to do so. But this team is going to be good. They're going to be really young. They're going to be really exciting. They're going to do a lot of really fun shit. Greg Popovich is going to put them in the best possible positions. Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell are going to have more of an opportunity to showcase what their true skills are when they're not the fulcrum of the offense. So you're going to see a little bit of a boost in efficiency from them because when Wembanyama gets the ball within 10 feet, he's going to draw insane gravity around him. Unless some team has like a Jaren Jackson that might be able to hold his own just standing in front of him. So bright young team. I know Joshua Primo's gone, so you lose that potential youth-filled asset that apparently just can't keep it in his pants. It's the weirdest thing that I have to say about a basketball player, but it's true. Still, San Antonio Spurs, really good offseason, really exciting team for the future, and that's going to do it for today. Thank you for stopping by. If you like the content, remember to hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys probably tomorrow, where we do the Pacific Division. Peace.